Have you ever wondered why some women leave a permanent mark on a man's heart? Why, no matter how much time passes, he never forgets them? It's not the flowers, the gifts, or the words spoken in fleeting moments. It's something far deeper. It's the way she sees him when no one else does, the way she believes in him when the world has given up, the way she stands quietly beside him, honors his heart, and makes him feel truly valued. Today, I'm going to reveal the things a woman can do that a man will never, ever forget, and why these small, powerful actions echo in his soul forever. A man never forgets a woman who truly believes in him when no one else does. This is a truth that echoes quietly but profoundly in the human heart, especially in a man's heart. There are times in life when a man feels the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders, when failure seems unavoidable, when the opinions of others sting sharper than any wound, when doubt creeps in like a shadow, whispering that he is not enough. In those moments, the world seems loud with judgment and deaf with indifference. People around him might offer advice, criticism, or even sympathy, but very few offer the kind of unwavering belief that pierces through despair and reaches straight to his core. A woman who believes in him in these moments is not just offering support, she is providing a lifeline. Her belief becomes a silent vow, a quiet declaration that he is capable, that he is worthy, that he can rise even when every circumstance suggests otherwise. It is not mere words that create this lasting imprint, because words are fleeting and can be empty. It is the way she shows it through her actions, her presence, and her patience. She does not mock his struggles, she does not diminish his fears, and she does not abandon him when the path grows difficult. She stands firmly, almost like a pillar, not to overshadow him, but to reinforce him. She holds space for him to grow, to stumble, to learn, and to try again. A man notices these things, even if he cannot express them immediately. He feels the difference between someone who believes in him and someone who merely pretends to care. He senses the sincerity, the consistency, the quiet confidence she has in his potential. Over time, these moments accumulate, forming a pattern of trust, respect, and admiration that he cannot erase from his memory. Belief is a powerful thing. When a woman genuinely believes in a man, she taps into a part of him that may have long been neglected or doubted. She reminds him of his abilities when he has forgotten them. She reflects his strength when he feels weak, and she ignites hope when despair has clouded his vision. This belief is not conditional. It is not dependent on achievements, on status, or on fleeting success. It is a belief that persists even when circumstances are unfavorable, when failures occur, when the world seems indifferent. That steadfastness is what makes her unforgettable. A man may forget a compliment or a kind gesture, but he will never forget someone who stood unwaveringly in his corner when the odds were stacked against him. It is also the subtle ways in which this belief manifests that make it indelible. Perhaps she listens intently when he speaks of his dreams, without interruption or judgment, allowing him to explore ideas freely, even the ones that seem unrealistic or far-fetched. Perhaps she encourages him to pursue goals he fears are unattainable, offering guidance when he seeks it, but never imposing her will on him. Perhaps she celebrates his small victories as though they are monumental, because she recognizes that every step forward matters, especially when the journey is hard. Each of these actions is a reinforcement of faith, a reminder that someone sees value in him, even when he struggles to see it himself. A man also recognizes the sacrifices and patience that often accompany genuine belief. She may invest time, energy, and emotional bandwidth to support him, sometimes without acknowledgement, simply because she believes in his potential and wants to see him succeed. He notices the subtle ways she prioritizes his growth, the little acts of encouragement that build his confidence over time, the unwavering presence that reassures him even in silence. These are not grand gestures or dramatic declarations. They are the quiet, consistent affirmations that make all the difference. A man internalizes these experiences, storing them in a place of memory that is resistant to the erosion of time and circumstance. Furthermore, belief in a man by a woman often touches his sense of self in ways that few other experiences can. Men are conditioned to appear strong, independent, and capable, but the reality is that everyone carries doubts, insecurities, and fears. A woman's belief cuts through the armor, acknowledging the vulnerability that exists behind the strength. By believing in him without judgment, she validates both his capabilities and his struggles. She tells him, without saying a word, that he is human, and yet he is still worthy. This rare kind of acceptance creates a bond that is hard to forget because it is rooted in authenticity and empathy rather than superficial attraction or convenience. The impact of such belief is often long-lasting. Even when a relationship changes, even when life paths diverge, the memory of someone who believed in him in his moments of uncertainty remains vivid. It becomes a benchmark against which other interactions are measured. Other gestures of support may come and go, but the depth of trust and validation experienced with a woman who genuinely believes in him sets a standard that lingers in his mind and heart. He carries it quietly, reflecting on it in moments of doubt, recalling it in moments of triumph, and feeling its influence in the decisions he makes and the relationships he values. This belief also shapes the way he interacts with the world. A man who has experienced a woman's unwavering faith in him is often emboldened to take risks he might have avoided, to pursue dreams he might have abandoned, and to navigate challenges with resilience he might not have otherwise found. Her belief acts as a catalyst for his growth, instilling a confidence that extends beyond the immediate relationship and permeates every aspect of his life. He learns not only to trust her judgment, but to trust himself more deeply, because someone's faith in him reflects an unseen potential within himself that he may not have recognized. A man never forgets a woman who believes in him because her faith is a mirror to his best self, reflecting the qualities he may have doubted or overlooked. Her support is not about control or manipulation. It is about empowerment, about creating a space where he can flourish. The memory of such belief is not fleeting. It becomes a foundational element of his emotional landscape, influencing how he remembers the past, navigates the present, and imagines the future. It is a form of influence that transcends superficial attraction or temporary circumstances because it speaks to the essence of who he is and who he can become. Even when faced with adversity, when surrounded by critics, or when confronted with failures, the recollection of a woman's unwavering belief provides strength. It is a source of encouragement that he can draw upon silently, a reminder that someone once trusted him enough to see the potential others overlooked. That trust becomes a private well of motivation and resilience that guides him long after the immediate presence of that woman may have changed. A man carries it not as a burden, not as a debt, but as a quiet treasure, an internalized affirmation of worth and possibility that remains imperishable. It is also worth noting that men are often slower to express gratitude for this kind of belief, not because it is unappreciated, but because it resonates at a deep, sometimes inexpressible level. The impact is felt in ways that are subtle yet enduring. It shapes his perceptions of loyalty, trust, and emotional intimacy. It informs his understanding of what it means to be supported unconditionally, to be seen clearly, and to be valued for more than just achievements or appearances. These lessons, embedded through the steadfast belief of a woman, are etched into his memory, shaping the way he engages with relationships for years to come. A man never forgets a woman who believes in him because her faith is a rare gift that transcends ordinary interaction. It requires discernment, empathy, patience, and courage. It is not easy to stand by someone without faltering, without judgment, without the expectation of immediate reward. Yet, When a woman embodies this belief authentically, it resonates deeply. The man internalizes it, reflects on it, and carries it with him, often unconsciously, through the challenges and triumphs of life. A man never forgets a woman who respects his heart and boundaries without questioning his worth. Respect is not a casual gesture or a polite acknowledgement. It is a recognition of the man as a whole person with emotions, limitations, and needs that are valid and deserving of consideration. In a world that often challenges masculinity with unrealistic expectations, a woman who honors his boundaries sends a message that he is valued not just for what he can provide, but for who he is. This respect manifests in many ways: in her listening without judgment, in her acknowledgement of his feelings, in her willingness to honor the limits he sets without resentment or manipulation. A man feels this respect deeply because it signals safety, trust, and understanding. It is a silent reassurance that he can be himself without fear of ridicule, criticism, or exploitation. Boundaries are crucial to a man's sense of self, yet many people, even those closest to him, often disregard them. A woman who respects his boundaries demonstrates emotional intelligence, empathy, and maturity. She does not push him into uncomfortable situations for her own convenience or pleasure. She does not pressure him to conform to expectations that conflict with his principles or priorities. Instead, she acknowledges his autonomy, validating that his choices and limits are reasonable and worthy of protection. This kind of respect is transformative because it allows a man to feel safe within the relationship, to trust fully, and to open himself without fear of violation or betrayal. He remembers the woman who could do this because it is rare and precious. Respecting a man's heart goes beyond boundaries. It involves understanding his vulnerabilities, recognizing his efforts, and honoring the integrity of his emotions. A man may be strong, stoic, or self-reliant, but inside he experiences doubt, fear, and longing like anyone else. A woman who respects his heart sees these emotions as legitimate rather than as weaknesses to exploit or dismiss. She treats his feelings with care, even when they conflict with her own, and she listens with empathy rather than judgment. When she acknowledges his pain or celebrates his joys, she validates his humanity. The memory of such respect lingers because it touches the deepest part of his being, providing a sense of being seen and valued in a way that few others can replicate. This respect also conveys trust. By honoring his boundaries and his emotional space, a woman demonstrates confidence in his judgment and integrity. She trusts that he knows himself and can navigate his own life, which in turn strengthens his confidence and self-worth. A man internalizes this trust, often more than he can articulate, and it becomes a cornerstone of his admiration and attachment. He recalls her actions and attitudes, the subtle ways she honored his needs and choices, and he recognizes that her respect was not superficial, but genuine and enduring. Another aspect of this respect is its consistency. A man can forgive occasional misunderstandings, but he never forgets a woman who consistently honors him and his limits, regardless of circumstances. Her respect is not selective or conditional. It does not waver when challenges arise, when mistakes are made, or when external pressures increase. She maintains her regard for his boundaries and heart, even when it is inconvenient or difficult. This steadfastness leaves a deep imprint because it demonstrates that her respect is rooted in principle, not in fleeting emotions or temporary convenience. It tells him that he is truly valued as a person, independent of external success or circumstance. A man also recognizes the courage that accompanies this kind of respect. It is easier to disregard boundaries, to push for control, to assume entitlement, but it requires strength and moral clarity to consistently honor another person's limits. A woman who does so demonstrates integrity and authenticity, qualities that resonate deeply and linger in memory. He notices the patience, the empathy, and the self-restraint she exercises, often without acknowledgement, and he is profoundly moved by it. Her respect becomes an unspoken declaration of care and trust that shapes the way he views her and the relationship. Furthermore, respect nurtures intimacy in a unique way. When a man feels that his heart and boundaries are safe, he is more willing to be vulnerable, more willing to express his thoughts, fears, and desires openly. This vulnerability fosters a deeper connection, one that is grounded in mutual understanding and appreciation rather than superficial attraction or obligation. He remembers the woman who created this space for him because it allowed him to experience love and connection at a profound level, one that cannot be easily replicated or forgotten. Respect also teaches him something essential about human relationships. He learns that authentic connection is built on recognition and honor, not manipulation or coercion. He internalizes the value of treating others with the same regard that he receives, carrying this lesson into future relationships, friendships, and professional interactions. The memory of a woman who respected him becomes both a personal anchor and a model for how he approaches life and connections with others. Even when circumstances change, a man carries the impact of this respect quietly, but indelibly. It influences how he perceives the world, how he evaluates intentions, and how he interacts with others. The woman who respected him becomes a benchmark against which he measures kindness, integrity, and emotional intelligence. Her actions are replayed in his mind, sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously, reminding him of the rare quality of genuine regard and the enduring impression it leaves. A man never forgets a woman who respects his heart and boundaries, because her respect affirms his worth in ways that are fundamental to his sense of self. It is not conditional on success, not dependent on agreement, and not fleeting in its effect. It resonates at a deep level, shaping his perception of himself, his trust in others, and his understanding of meaningful connection. He remembers her because she honored him in a way that the world often fails to do, leaving a permanent imprint on his heart and a lasting influence on his life. A man never forgets a woman who stands by him in silence, even when words fail. There are moments in life when conversation is impossible, when explanations fall short, when circumstances are too complex or emotions are too raw to articulate. In these moments, the presence of someone who does not demand answers, who does not impose solutions, who does not fill the silence with empty reassurances, becomes a profound source of comfort. Silence, when paired with unwavering support, communicates more than words ever could. It tells a man that he is not alone, that someone sees him, feels with him, and is willing to share the burden of his struggles without requiring anything in return. A woman who can do this leaves a lasting imprint on his memory because her presence becomes a sanctuary, a safe space where vulnerability is honored and judgment is absent. Standing by a man in silence requires patience, empathy, and emotional intelligence. It is easy to try to fix problems, to offer advice, or to fill the gaps with words, but true support often lies in simply being there. A man notices this distinction, even if he does not immediately articulate it. He senses when someone is genuinely present and when someone is performing an act of sympathy. A woman who chooses to stand silently with him, without pressure or expectation, demonstrates an understanding of his inner world that few others can achieve. Her silence is not passive, it is active, intentional, and filled with empathy. It communicates trust in his ability to navigate his own emotions while simultaneously offering companionship and solidarity. This kind of silent support is particularly memorable because it often occurs in moments of vulnerability. When a man is experiencing fear, grief, or uncertainty, he may feel exposed and uncertain of how to express himself. Words can feel inadequate, or he may struggle to convey the depth of his emotions. A woman who remains steadfastly present without insisting on conversation validates his experience and provides emotional relief. Her presence becomes a quiet affirmation that he is seen, heard, and understood, even without the need for verbal acknowledgement. The memory of such support endures because it demonstrates a profound level of emotional attunement and care. A man also recognizes the strength it takes for a woman to endure silence without discomfort. Many people feel compelled to fill voids with noise, advice, or attempts at problem solving. A woman who can tolerate the tension of silence, who can offer comfort without intrusion, demonstrates not only patience, but also respect for his process and autonomy. This patience speaks volumes about her character and her intentions, reinforcing the depth of her commitment to him and her ability to provide genuine support. Over time, these moments accumulate into a reservoir of trust, admiration, and lasting emotional connection that a man cannot easily forget. Silence shared in solidarity communicates empathy on a profound level. When a man senses that a woman understands his pain or struggles without him having to articulate them, he feels validated in a unique and enduring way. This validation is different from spoken reassurance because it is experiential rather than declarative. He feels it in the atmosphere, in the comfort of her presence, and in the absence of judgment. This type of support shapes his perception of intimacy, teaching him that true connection is not always about words, but about being fully present, emotionally attuned, and willing to share moments without the pressure of explanation or performance. Another reason a man never forgets a woman who stands by him in silence is the sense of stability it provides. Life is unpredictable, and challenges often come without warning. The knowledge that someone can be trusted to remain steadfast, even when circumstances are difficult, provides a foundation of security. He remembers her because her presence during these critical moments became an anchor, a constant amid chaos, and a source of quiet reassurance. This stability allows him to process his emotions, gather strength, and eventually confront challenges with renewed clarity and resilience. Standing in silence also communicates respect for his emotional journey. A woman who can bear witness without imposing her own narrative acknowledges that his feelings, experiences, and timing are valid. She does not rush him, she does not pressure him, and she does not minimize his experience. This respect for his inner process is transformative because it honors his autonomy while offering support. He recalls her presence because it represents a rare combination of patience, empathy, and understanding that is difficult to find in human relationships. Her silence is active care, a deliberate choice to prioritize his emotional well-being over the need for words or immediate resolution. In addition, shared silence can create profound emotional intimacy. When words are unnecessary, when gestures, glances, or simply being present convey understanding, a man experiences a connection that transcends ordinary communication. He feels seen and supported in ways that are ineffable yet deeply memorable. The bond formed in these moments is different from any formed through conversation or shared activity because it is rooted in mutual trust, respect, and emotional attunement. A man internalizes these experiences, carrying them as a lasting impression of a woman's capacity to understand, support, and honor him in the most fundamental way. A woman's ability to stand by him in silence also reflects her confidence and self-assurance. She does not need to dominate the space with words, opinions, or directives. She trusts in her own presence and in the man's capacity to navigate his own emotions, and this trust is both empowering and grounding. He remembers her not just for her quiet support, but for the strength it reveals, the maturity it conveys, and the emotional intelligence it demonstrates. These qualities leave an indelible mark because they show him a form of love and care that is rare, intentional, and enduring. Furthermore, silence shared in support can serve as a mirror, allowing a man to reflect, process, and find clarity within himself. In the absence of external pressure or commentary, he can explore his own thoughts and emotions, knowing that a woman is silently accompanying him. This accompaniment is a powerful form of partnership, one that fosters personal growth, resilience, and self-awareness. He remembers her because she provided a space for him to engage with himself fully, without fear of judgment or misunderstanding, creating an emotional legacy that is unforgettable. A man never forgets a woman who makes him feel seen and valued in ways no one else ever could. To be seen is to be recognized, acknowledged, and understood for who you truly are beneath the surface, beyond appearances, achievements, or social roles. Many men go through life feeling overlooked, underappreciated, or misunderstood, even by those closest to them. Society often imposes expectations on men to be stoic, self-reliant, and unshakably strong, leaving little room for vulnerability or emotional expression. In this environment, a woman who takes the time and effort to truly see him, his dreams, his fears, his values, his struggles, and his essence, creates a profound impact that cannot be erased. She validates his existence not through superficial praise, but through deep recognition that he matters, that he counts, that he is important in the most fundamental way. Being seen and valued goes beyond occasional compliments or acknowledgement of achievements. It is an ongoing awareness of the man's inner world and the subtleties of his personality. A woman who notices the small details, the effort he puts into his work, the quiet acts of kindness he may not highlight, the thoughts he struggles to articulate, demonstrates attentiveness and care that leaves a lasting impression. A man internalizes these gestures because they communicate that he is appreciated for his authentic self, not for what he can provide or perform. He recognizes that someone truly understands him, and this understanding resonates at a level deeper than words can express. Value is closely tied to recognition, but it is also about the emotional significance a woman places on him. She communicates that his opinions matter, that his feelings are valid, that his presence enriches her life. This is not flattery or superficial admiration. It is genuine acknowledgement of his worth. A man remembers this because it touches a fundamental need, the need to be meaningful, to be important, to be noticed in a world that often overlooks the individual. When a woman consistently demonstrates that he matters, it reinforces his self-esteem, strengthens his confidence, and creates an emotional bond that is both deep and enduring. A man also notices when a woman values him by supporting his growth and aspirations. She does not diminish his goals or dismiss his ambitions. Instead, she encourages him to pursue them, celebrates his milestones, and provides reassurance when he falters. By showing that she believes in his potential and invests emotionally in his journey, she reinforces his sense of purpose and self-worth. He never forgets this because it shapes his perception of partnership, love, and mutual respect. Her recognition becomes a touchstone for the kind of relationships he seeks and the level of care he hopes to experience from others. The ability to make a man feel seen and valued also requires emotional intelligence and attentiveness. She pays attention to his moods, understands his triggers, and responds in ways that honor his emotional reality. She does not dismiss his struggles, compare them to others, or insist on her own perspective over his. Instead, she validates his experiences, acknowledges his efforts, and celebrates his uniqueness. These acts of understanding and empathy are etched into his memory because they convey acceptance and affirmation in a world that often judges, pressures, or misunderstands. A woman who achieves this also demonstrates consistency. Time gestures may be noticed, but repeated recognition and validation create a lasting impact. He remembers the patterns of care, the thoughtful consideration, and the sustained effort she invests in truly understanding and valuing him. These actions leave a mark because they communicate reliability, stability, and authenticity, qualities that men associate with lasting trust and meaningful connection. He internalizes these behaviors as a benchmark for genuine attention, empathy, and respect in any relationship he experiences moving forward. Beyond emotional validation, making a man feel seen and valued also involves celebrating his individuality. She appreciates his quirks, his strengths, his weaknesses, and the ways in which he is unique. She does not attempt to mold him into someone else's expectations, but honors the person he is. This acceptance fosters a sense of security and belonging that is unforgettable. He recalls her because she made him feel that he could exist fully and authentically without fear of rejection, ridicule, or the need to perform to earn approval. The impact of feeling seen and valued also extends to a man's sense of emotional safety. When a woman provides this environment, he feels comfortable sharing his vulnerabilities, expressing his fears, and revealing the depths of his character without hesitation. This creates a powerful bond of trust and intimacy that is rare and transformative. He remembers her presence and the emotional security she provided because it allowed him to be fully himself in a way he may not have experienced elsewhere. A woman who makes a man feel seen and valued also inspires him to be his best self. Her recognition motivates him to live up to the faith and attention she places in him. It encourages him to strive for growth, integrity, and authenticity, not out of obligation, but from a desire to honor the respect and value he has received. He internalizes this influence, carrying it as a guiding force in his decisions, his relationships, and his personal development. Finally, a man never forgets a woman who makes him feel seen and valued because she touches the essence of his being. Her actions create a lasting impression that is internalized as both emotional memory and life lesson. He carries the experience with him, reflecting on it in quiet moments, drawing strength from it in times of doubt, and comparing future interactions to the depth of care and recognition he once received. This imprint shapes not only his memory of her, but his understanding of what it means to be truly known, respected, and appreciated in the deepest, most authentic sense.